Cheetah after dropping back down the field in the closing stages. Oliver Rowland getting ready. And Antonio Giovinazzi about to get in the car. This is how the championship stands. Stoffel Vandoorne leading after a third-place finish yesterday. Jean-Eric Vergne finished second. So as a result, the gap at the top of the championship down to just 3 points. And then it is 14 points back to Mitch Evans for Jaguar TCS Racing, Mortara fourth. Robin Freitz dropping away a little from the championship lead. Sam Bird picked up some more points in 12th position. And Alexander Sims got his first points of the year with 2 points for a 9th place finish after starting second on the grid. And as far as the team's championship is concerned, there was quite a bit of movement actually yesterday in the team's championship. Mercedes EQ still at the top and DS Techeetah still second, but Rocket Venturi Racing moving up into third place. Tag Heuer Porsche gained a few spots and Vision dropped down a few positions after they failed to score any points at all. And this is the Berlin circuit that we have reversed from yesterday, essentially. So what used to be turn 10 is now turn 1. This hairpin right-hander. My name is Jack Nichols. Alongside me here in commentary is Karun Chandok, and same as yesterday, but the other way, Karun.
Indeed, same 2.355 kilometers, but first corner much tighter, and we're gonna have a bit of a concertina effect, I think, in the race when we get to turn 2. Fast corners through 3 and 4, attack mode at the same place around the aeroplane on the apron at turn 5. A really tricky braking zone for turns 6 and 7. You first go left, then you got to get stopped and turn right before the final sector of the lap. Bit tight and fiddly through 8 and 9, and then a long 270-degree right-hander for turn 10.
So that is how the track will line up. Different overtaking opportunities on this circuit. There is the pit lane. The cars getting ready to head out. Track temperature 16 degrees. Air temperature already 14 degrees, which is very pleasant after it clouded over quite a lot yesterday. I think we're in for a lovely sunny day. And I know I said that yesterday morning, but I think it's really true today. Not that you watching at home are really bothered. It's only me, really, that doesn't want to be too cold over the course of the day. There's Nick de Vries, reigning champion. 2 10th place finishes in a row. Really struggling with the balance yesterday, Nick de Vries. A lot of the teams actually saying that they, because of the track surface, you overheat the rears. So then you try and dial that out by bringing in some understeer, but then you just end up with loads of understeer.
Alexander Sims was saying the same, really. He, he obviously started in the front row yesterday and then went down the order, ended up in 9th place at the finish. And he said the same thing. It's just, it's a real challenge to keep the rear tyres alive. Jean-Eric Vergne, he did a great job yesterday, didn't he? Another podium, keeping himself right in this championship hunt against Stoffel Vandoorne. But they got to go out and do it all again today.
And they are about to do just that as the pit lane opens. And the cars all make their way out here at the end of the pit lane. Turvey and Ticktum heading out first of all, and that's one of the slight curiosities of this, is that every race it's the Mercedes EQs that are first out on track because they get the prime spot at the end of the pit lane for winning the team's championship last year. But because we reversed it, there's no point reversing all the garages as well. That would be far too much effort. And so it's the Neos and the Dragons that are first out on track, and Dan Ticktum getting and Oliver Turvey getting a clear track ahead of them, which must be very nice for a change.
It's quite funny, isn't it, how, and I did it as well when we were in Formula E, but, when the pit lane goes green, everyone goes storming out and actually then complains about traffic. Whereas if you waited 40 seconds, as I've seen, Sam Bird doing right now, he's driving past our commentary position here at the end of the pit lane, Andretti's and the Mercedes. If you wait 45 seconds, you'll have a lovely clear run for, the first part of the session.
Out onto the circuit we go. There are the two Nissans, Sebastian Buemi and Max Günther. Buemi had a sort of up and down race yesterday, ended up in 14th position, was as far down as 18th at one point, having started in 10th place, so couldn't quite get on top of things yesterday. So Sebastian Buemi, his teammate Max Günther, finished in 18th place, so really tough time for the Nissan Edam squad. Here comes Dan Ticktum down into, this is now then turn 1. a wide sweeping right-hander, and well, I've just heard a thud here in the commentary booth, and so I think someone's had a bit of a moment at turn one. I was talking to Scott Elkins yesterday. He said there was only about 2 yellow flags the whole day, but not so much here, because we've got that yellow flag at the first corner. We'll figure out what's happened in a moment, as Tictum now comes through the rest of the circuit. He's coming down into turn 5. That's where attack mode is, on the outside, on the left-hand side, and he's still weaving around to try and get a bit of temperature into the tyres as they come down now into turn 7, which is a tricky overtaking opportunity, because it kind of curves left before tightening and turning right. And then we're into turns 8 and 9, and then the long looping right-hander at turn 10, and out across the line and down towards turn 1 again. So we'll see it there. The yellow flag is still out down at the first corner.
Yeah, we heard a thud, didn't we? I think somebody might have lost it under braking. We could hear the tyre smoke, and then there's definitely a plonk against the wall.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem to be a car parked down there at this stage anyway. The yellow flag's still out, so anyway, we'll see. They have cleared it away now, so perhaps whoever had that issue has managed to get it under control and get going again. So Jack, at the moment, although it looks like a lovely sunny day, it's still quite cold. The track temperature is still quite chilly, isn't it? It's barely scratched 20 degrees on this concrete, and you know, that creates a bit of a challenge for these drivers, because when they get back for qualifying in the race, the temperatures are much hotter, and yet they haven't had a chance to really practice and see what the rear tyre wear is going to be like, and I think that's what's creating some of the problems for them.
So Buemi has just returned to the pit lane, so I wonder if it was Buemi, because his first sector was 20 seconds longer than it should have been. So perhaps a moment for Sebastian Buemi out there, and he's the only driver in the pit lane, so it might well have been the Nissan Edams that ran into trouble down at the first corner. Here's Antonio Giovinazzi coming into turn 1. Struggle yesterday for Giovinazzi, qualified in 19th place, which actually was one of his better qualifying performances this season. 25.5 minutes to go. And here's a look then at what happened with Sebastian Buemi. There you can see the end of it. And he's in a it's very strange. I don't quite know. Maybe he's sort of
there's something hanging off the rear left. I think he has touched the wall there.
Yeah.
There's a load of tyre smoke. You can see there's something hanging off the back, which is a bit of branding off the wall, which is an indicator that some contact has been made.
I wonder if he's had a bit of a Jake Dennis moment from the last race last season, and you know, locked the rears and got a bit out of shape coming down into the right-hander of turn 1. We certainly saw the smoke and the dust and heard the thud. So there's his teammate Max Günther out on circuit in the other Nissan. A winner of his home race here in season 6, but as I say, finished 18th yesterday, only 1 points finish, and that was a 9th in Mexico City. And there's the back of Buemi. So he has gone into the barriers pretty heftily. Yeah,
you can see that's the rear crash structure there. They're likely going to have to replace that, so the mechanics will take that off. You can see there a bit of discussion around what needs to happen, but I think it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, the bits are coming off now.
Yeah, so that could be perhaps, well, he's going to miss a big chunk of the session, Sebastian Buemi, no doubt about that. Exactly how much, we'll have to wait and see, but it's not going to be a quick job to replace that. Of course, the mechanics are fairly quick at these sorts of things.
Pascal Wehrlein was also in the pits, Jack, so he has gone out on track, but he's missed the first 7 or so minutes of this session. Not sure what sort of an issue he had.
Well, he's done 3 laps, so he's yeah, I don't know why he's come back through the pit lane, but his teammate Andre Lotterer did similarly. Both Venturis are back in the pits now as well, Eduardo Mortara and Lucas de Grassi. You can see where it says pit on the left-hand side. Here's Sam Bird
He needs a good day today, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He needs. He managed to drag himself back into the points behind his teammate Mitch Evans yesterday, which was, somewhat of a relief. Evans finishing 5th, Bird finishing 7th, so at least the run of form that he's had in recent races of not even getting into the top 10 sometimes has ended. He's come off the back of 2 DNFs in a row, so yeah, it's a big day for him. He's got to just make sure he puts the whole day together, because that's what the challenge is with FE. Every session is, it's half an hour. Qualifying comes into the short burst of the group stages, then you're into the duels. It's all pretty intense, really. You don't have a sort of hour and a half practice session to ease yourself into it. You have got to get out there and get on with it very quickly.
And it is 2 free practice sessions today, just so you know, because normally on a double-header race weekend there's just 1 practice session on a Sunday.
To improve braking to turn 5.
So an improved braking.
Yeah, I knew I braked early that lap.
So Bird saying he knew that braked early on that lap. Yes, but it is 2 free practice sessions because the track goes the other way. The drivers have another half an hour to get used to it, like they would do on a new circuit. Because even though it is the same track but the other way, it is very different. How you approach every corner is obviously completely, well, not opposite, but completely different.
Well, I mean, to be honest, you almost have to forget you're at the same venue. You have to treat today as a completely new day, as if you've just got off the plane and come here, and this is a completely new circuit. The only upside of it is, for the teams like Van Dorn, like these guys at Techeetah, who had a good balance in the race. Eduardo Mortara, obviously yesterday's winner. If they've got a good car on the chassis side, like they had on this surface yesterday, then at least that carries over into today. But it does the drivers, building themselves up in terms of confidence and how close they're willing to get to the walls and just get an understanding of the track grip. It's a completely new day.
21 minutes to go. Jake Dennis is quickest at the moment on a 1 minute 7.694. He was a bit frustrated with the pace in the car yesterday after performing fairly well here in Berlin last year. Was hoping for a stronger day. Pascal Wehrlein coming out of the final corner at turn 10, out across the timing beam, and Wehrlein goes him into 17th place, so 1 minute 8.942. We have 20.5 minutes to go as Wehrlein and Porsche, I think they were fairly satisfied with yesterday. Nick Cassidy certainly wasn't. Retiring from the race yesterday, he pulled into the pits with about probably 10 minutes to go or something like that, and that was the end of his race. He's 300ths down, and Robin Freitz was saying, no, Sylvain Filippi, wasn't it, the managing director of Envision, saying yesterday, we looked off the pace in free practice 1, then suddenly we looked on the pace in free practice 2, and then off the pace in qualifying. Although there were some driving errors in there as well, like a big lock-up from Robin Freitz. But difficult day for Envision, a disaster, I think he called it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of their championship challenge, it really was, wasn't it? No points on the board for either car. Freitz dropping from 4th in the championship down to 5th now, behind Eduardo Mortara, and more crucially, he's over a race win away now from the championship lead, isn't he, from Van Dorn? He's now 25 points, sorry, so he's exactly a race win away from the leader.
Yeah, exactly. And with the top 2 in the championship in such good form, Verne on the podium in 4 of the last 5 races, and Van Dorn on the podium in 3 of the last 4. As we see Mitch Evans changing tyres and then heading back out. That was another thing Wehrlein said yesterday, actually, and something that is could be crucial, is the difference you feel on different sets of tyres. He was very happy on one set, Wehrlein, but not so much on the other. There you can see the repairs may be nearly done to the back of Sebastian Buemi's car. The Nissan team got stuck in, and looks like it might be nearly ready to go.
Yeah, the rear crash structures, it's it's essentially 4 to 5 bolts, just comes off and put a new one on. So I think they've just got to put the bodywork back on and send it out on track. So yeah, he'll get half a session, but it'll still hurt him, you know, not having that opportunity to do the early mileage and you know, just it's about practicing and learning how to drive efficiently on this layout. You know, where do you come off the throttle and let the car coast to regen the energy? How, you know, just picking those points. What is the most efficient way in terms of coming off the gas but losing the least amount of lap time? Which parts of the track do you do it at? Do you do it down in turn 1? Do you do it in turn 2? Do you do it down the back straight into turns 6 and 7? Yes, but how much in each of those, and how do you split it across the lap? That's what they're trying to practice and learn here.
Lucas de Grassi is going at full power here, coming down towards turn 7. He's a tenth and a half up on Eduardo Mortara. This is the first full power lap that we have seen on this reverse layout as he comes through 8 and 9. Through the right-hander into turn 10 and out across the line. And our first benchmark full power lap, a 1:07.231, although it's less than a tenth of a second quicker than his teammate Eduardo Mortara. And you would probably expect a little more of a difference than that on a full power run. Jerome D'Ambrosio, who guided the team to victory yesterday for Eduardo Mortara. De Vries back in the pit lane for the Mercedes crew. This is Jean-Eric Verne, second place man in the championship. Still no victory this year, and maybe should have won yesterday, certainly could have won yesterday.
But his run of form in the last 5 races has been exactly what you need to win the championship or to be in championship contention. You know, 2 seconds, 2/3 and a 4th. That's a good haul of points. But a yellow flag briefly at turn 2, but it's been withdrawn, so maybe somebody just going a bit wide. But yeah, you know, he's there, isn't he, Jeff? Only 3 points off the championship lead from Van Dorn. Bit of a lock-up into turns 6 and 7. I don't think he's going to be the last one we see today as well. As you say, you know, you break a turn going left and then have to turn sharply right before coming to this last part of the lap. But that last corner, Jack, when you've got the higher power mode, 250 kilowatts in qualifying and in attack mode, it's going to be really tricky for the rear tires. You know, we've talked about it a lot over the weekend, just how you try and keep the rear tires cool and just make sure you don't overheat those. That last corner is going to be a big challenge for that.
There's Thomas Chevauchet. Taking a look at Sebastian Buemi. Oh, it was Buemi who had the little half spin at turn 2. So 2 yellow flags in this session, both Sebastian Buemi, but that was on his outlap as well. But he's out on circuit again and has got going.
He hasn't had his coffee this morning, perhaps.
No, exactly. Here is Oliver Rowland into turn 1. He's at full power as he comes down now towards turn 2, which is I'm not sure, I'm not convinced he's fully pushing here, Rowland.
No, it doesn't. I mean, I know he's in full power because you can see the graphic at the bottom left showing 250 kilowatts, but
no, he's 2 seconds down in sector 1.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
I was going to say, it doesn't look like he's actually pushing too hard.
No, absolutely. So, but Rowland thought it was all right yesterday. Basically, he finished 11th. He was like, yeah, it was fine. Quali wasn't good because there was some, as Sims alluded to, there was a technical problem for both of the cars in Quali, which meant that they couldn't perform as they wanted. But he made good progress, Rowland, and came through to 11th position. Here is Pascal Wehrlein, who's 3/10 up on de Grassi's time after the first 2 sectors, as he now comes around into the final few turns.
They had a decent day yesterday, didn't they, Porsche? They were sort of in contention there or thereabouts all the way through. Both Lautre and Pascal Wehrlein were firmly in the hunt in that leading bunch, but they never quite looked quick enough to challenge Mortara, Van Dorn and Verne. They sort of were there, but were missing the last couple of tenths, I think, to to have an impact on that lead battle.
I did ask Pascal yesterday, is there anything you could have done differently to sort of be a bit more involved in the fight for the win? And he said, no, not really. We did a decent job. We did a good enough job, and could have finished a bit higher, but that's about it. Jean-Eric Verne to the top, a 1 minute 6.659, a quarter of a second ahead of Pascal Wehrlein now, with De Grassi's lap time third quickest, half a second away from Verne. Only 13 minutes to go in the session, so we're past the halfway mark as you have a nice little look over the park on the left-hand side. The old runway, now a public park here in Tempelhof.
It is great, isn't it, that park? I was looking at it yesterday. There's people running and cycling, and there's kids riding their bikes. It's a really good idea.
Absolutely. Eduardo Mortara up into fourth in the championship now, and after two retirements in Rome and Monaco, kind of not looked like he was out of it, because he was still fifth in the championship standings, but was getting cut adrift a little bit. Now he's just 19 points off the lead of the championship, so very much brought himself back into contention. And I was really impressed with the Venturi strategy yesterday, with the strategists, you might say, and because it always looked like, or it always felt like maybe they were leaving it too late, but they played it perfectly, and they had the extra power to come through and take the lead in both the first and the second attack modes.
Yeah, they really judged that race well, didn't they? The only times they lost the lead of the race was when they planned to lose the lead of the race with the attack mode, if that makes sense. But they knew they were going to get it back. They certainly had control of it. Robin Frines, what has he been up to here?
Ooh, right up to the wall on the exit of turn one. It looked a bit more dramatic because there was the Mahindra there as well on the inside, but Frines right up to the wall. Here's Stoffel Vandoorne, just 3 points off the championship lead, taking a nice wide line coming through turn 10 to sort of line him up for the back straight, or for the main straight.
So comes across the line, and he's not in the high power mode, is he? So let's take a look around the circuit with Stoffel. He's got a little bit of traffic up ahead. The car going very slowly on the exit of turn 2. This is one of the Neos, I think, going slowly along, but picked him getting nicely out of the way. These two corners today, because it's a shorter run from turn 2 than it was yesterday, from turn 5 or 6 as it was. They're actually able to go, I think, pretty comfortably flat through those high-speed corners. This is a really tricky break zone, Jack. Watch this as he goes first to the left. The brake's glowing there. The temperature builds up to 800-900 degrees, and then turning in the last part of that. We're going to see different lines here, aren't we, for this long right-hander as the dust and marbles build up. They've got to be a bit careful that wall right at the end. They're closer to that wall than sometimes you think, really. It's a bit edgy. Yeah, kind of that classic clipping the inside wall at the exit of the swimming pool sort of vibe. There's Vandoorne slows. Mr. Ian James, team principal of Mercedes EQ. This is Jake Dennis, now on a full power lap, coming down into turn 2. Through the left-hander, back on the power. Saw a few overtaking, well, quite a lot of overtaking into turn 2 last year, but overtaking this way around, you sort of need to be a bit more robust with your moves, because it's not quite as drive-by-y, let's say, as Dennis gets it into turn 5, and he is 300ths up on Verne after the first sector, and after the second sector, he's 800ths up on Jean-Eric Verne. Someone's had a lock-up just in front of him. May well have been Sebastian Buemi in the Nissan. It was very smoky upon Dennis's arrival. Here he comes now out through turn 10. On the power. And is this going to put Jake Dennis to the top of the times? Yes, it is. A 1 minute 6.512, over a tenth up on Jean-Eric Verne. Didn't do the fastest
final sector of anybody, but and that was sending it in, wasn't it, to Costa on full power, but nowhere near the apex.
Yeah, way out wide there. And I did notice, Jack, that they had some sweepers going around the track, so at least all the marbles and dust and muck that was thrown up from the race yesterday offline has been swept up overnight, which is quite important actually, because although we're using the same track, the lines are slightly different when you're going the other way around. And you know, for the Costa therefore to be way out there, you wouldn't want to do that in a couple of hours time by the time you get to qualifying, because just the amount of dust and grip would be terrible out there.
We saw some crucial mistakes at turn 1 yesterday in the qualifying duels. I'm sure it'll be a tricky one here again today, with the biggest sort of braking zone on the circuit. Here comes Da Costa. He is 7/10ths down after the first 2 sectors, most of it coming in the first sector, and he ends the lap 0.8 of a second down. 7.5 minutes to go. De Vries is 4/10ths down after 2 sectors as well, and jumps up into 4th place as a result as we look into the DS Techeetah garage.
Yeah, see Van Dorn up into 8th as well. Verline coming around the final corner as he's got the purple flashing halo. So we're coming into the last 7 minutes of this session now, where, you know, I know we've largely ignored the sector times and lap times, which, you know, in the early stages of the session, it is irrelevant because they are just finding their feet and doing a lot of efficiency practice. But now we're going to get to the point where they're going to start getting their one-lap performances. And I know yesterday Van Dorn in particular came through the pack, didn't he? He was 12th on the opening lap.
Yeah.
And came through the pack to finish 3rd. But actually, I think qualifying is quite important these days. You know, having that good one-lap performance and getting near the front of the grid is more important than it's not yet the be-all and end-all. We saw Evans winning from 9th, etc. But I think it's more important than it was last year, actually, because the grids are less mixed up. You know, with this format we got, it does seem a bit more meritocratic and a bit less random, which I think is good. You know, the people who deserve to be at the front of the grid are at the front of the grid. But therefore, I think they're all having to do a bit more practice for that one-lap performance.
Here comes Pascal Verline on a full power lap. He's done the fastest middle sector of anyone, but he doesn't quite manage to go quicker than Jake Dennis. About 800ths away in the end from the British driver for the German. Oliver Rowland has the fastest final sector of anyone, but he's back in the pits at the moment for Mahindra. Here is Dan Ticktum, who is at full power. Sims now goes 3rd fastest, and Ticktum struggled a little in qualifying yesterday compared to his teammate Oliver Turvey, who did well and qualified 15th, I think it was, for Turvey, which matched the best Neo performance of the season in qualifying that Ticktum had. Struggled in the race, did Turvey, but he was pretty pleased with his qualifying lap. Said if he'd done that lap in the other group, he said he would have been 5th in that group. But he said he was in the faster of the groups, allegedly. But he would say that wouldn't be 14th for Dan Ticktum.
Well, I mean, that's easy to check, isn't it? You just look at the lap time.
Yeah.
Which you're about to do, no?
No, I believe Oliver.
Okay, fine.
If Turvey says it, he did his same milk thing again today. He came in.
What, with his bowl of milk?
With his bowl of milk. His cereal, pulls his cereal out his bag, tucks in.
Oh, well, Mortada's tucked in, hasn't he? Look at him, stayed away to the top of the times. About a 10.5 quicker than Jake Dennis. How many breakfasts have you had today? You were 2 up yesterday by the time we got to the stage.
No, today is a day of not eating after the amount I ate yesterday. I didn't tell you, before we went for dinner last night, I had a little wander through Berlin and got myself a bratwurst. And
what, before dinner?
Before dinner.
Then you had starter, main and dessert.
Yeah, you know when we were on that like production meeting,
yeah.
I was walking back from a bratwurst shop eating a sausage.
As you do.
As you do.
When in Berlin.
Exactly. So today, less eating. On board with Mitch Evans. He would like to eat up some points.
How many eating references are we going to get in the next 3 minutes and 47 seconds then?
But he's on full power as he comes down to the apex of the left-hander, just nibbles the curb on the inside. And now comes up towards turn 3. Oh, a little lift. Well, sort of lifting for the right-hander of 4 more than anything.
Yeah, yeah. It didn't munch any of that curve, did he? He stayed away from it. As we get into the apex of turn 5, heading down towards the really, really tricky braking zone here. Watch his hands on the wheel as he has to make these slight corrections, going first left and then right at this sort of pretzel-shaped into this lap, really, isn't it? It winds its way all the way around.
The lap time-wise, you can see on the left-hand side, best lap of 1 minute 7.4 so far for Evans. His teammate Bird jumps up into 7th. Evans goes into 8th place. So 4 and 5 tenths of a second adrift for the Jaguars, respectively. Andre Lotterer is 1,000th away from Eduardo Mortara after the middle sector. Almost sort of double apexes, that sort of late apexes.
Did you see that? He had to make a correction on the wheel to sort of avoid the wall. I think his initial trajectory was aiming for that bit of wall that sticks out, and he quickly made a correction there.
Florian Modlinger, boss of the Porsche team. Lotterer ended up going 2nd quickest, so 2nd and 4th. And they were quite frustrated, the team, that they were so quick in the group stages, but when it came down to the duels, both were eliminated in the quarterfinals. Jake Dennis is going full power again, currently 3rd fastest after being deposed by Mortara at the top of the times, and he's a 1/4 of a second away after the first 2 sectors. So I think this is going to be a big one for Dennis, and indeed it is not. Less than 3 tenths slower than Eduardo Mortara, and doesn't improve on his own personal best. And there is the Avalanche Andretti team. Mortara quickest, Lotterer 2nd, Dennis 3rd. The other car of Oliver Askew 19th quickest. Askew slowest in qualifying yesterday. Here's Stoffel Van Dorn on full power, coming through the right-hander of 4. And then down into 5, and Freitz might have got in his way. He's bailed out of it in the end. But that might have been a bit of a distraction for Van Dorn.
Yeah, it was enough of a distraction, I think, for him to you just check yourself. You just hold on to that brake pedal a little bit more firmly than you would do otherwise, as he comes through 6 and 7. Look at this little traffic jam he's got in front of him. Yeah, this completely compromises lap, isn't it? Hits the inside curve for good measure as well. So this last sector's not going to be good for Van Dorn. To be honest, the first 2 sectors weren't great anyway. He's sort of half a second down on this lap.
Here he comes across the line, and it is 15th fastest. Does a personal best final sector.
Yeah, but it just shows how much quicker he could have gone, Jack.
Yeah, exactly. And so De Vries and Van Dorn 13th and 15th at the moment for the 2 Mercedes. Here is Nick De Vries. He's approximately 3 tenths away after the first 2 sectors, so maybe can get up into the top 7 or 8 here. Nick De Vries through turn 10. Evans gets ahead of Turvey on another lap. Here comes De Vries, and it is 7th place, so 1 minute 6.697 for Nick De Vries, 3 tenths away from Eduardo Mortara. Checkered flag is out. End of the session. And there's the Mercedes EQ team. Ian James saying yesterday, fair play, he said to the Rocket Venturi team for winning the race, and he was very happy to still see a Mercedes EQ powertrain take the win.
What did he say?
Fair play.
Just double checking, I didn't hear you. I think look, he's happy, isn't it? It's his powertrain that's won it, so effectively he's had 2 of his powertrains on the podium. I mean, I do think if Van Dorn didn't have that issue on the opening lap, but he got stuck behind Sergio Sette Camera, he would have actually been in a better position to win that race yesterday. He's not had a great start to today, but De Vries there or thereabouts, showing that the car is competitive. We saw Van Dorn have a whole load of traffic there. Alexander Sims carrying on his good run of form from yesterday, isn't he? He's, you know, if you look at that top 9, Dennis and Sims are the ones that, you know, Sims, I know yesterday did a really good job in qualifying and was up there. Dennis wasn't, so they're the 2 sort of standouts, I guess. The fact that Sims has carried on his form and the fact that Dennis has brought himself into play with a good start to today. That's the two standouts for me in that part. Everyone else, based on what we saw yesterday, you kind of expected them to be in that top bunch.
Yeah, I'd agree. The rest of the order is fairly standard currently. There's Dan Tickton, ended the session 17th fastest. They come around now to do some practice starts at turn 10, or on the exit of turn 10 on the start straight. You've got Cassidy on the right, Mortara on the left.
Tell you what, I was just looking at that shot there of our cameraman on the inside of that long turn 10.
Oh, what, on the big jib thing?
Yeah. God, he must do some steps. You know, following the cars back and forth every lap. I'd love to know what his step count was yesterday.
Go and ask him.
I will.
Between free practice 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Lights go out for... Berline didn't move. On the right-hand side in the Porsche. Just waiting for the next set of lights, perhaps. He's got Oliver Rowland there on the left-hand side. And there he goes this time. Fairly even starts in Formula E these days. Back in the first generation of cars, you saw a little bit more difference. People sort of lighting up the rears and losing spots, and some people getting good starts, whereas it's a lot more even these days.
Yeah, I think when we got to Gen 2, they've all got some form of traction control, isn't it? Yeah. Although they don't call it traction control, I think they call it torque delivery management or something, as a bit of a loophole to not calling it traction control, but it's effectively what it is. So I think, you know, this is why I think for me, next season, Gen 3 is going to be interesting, right? Because you've had a period of time of stability with the rules and the homologation, so the cars are all pretty optimized now. They've all learnt their cars, they all know somewhat how to get the best out of what they've got, and then when you lob in a whole bunch of new cars on the grid, we'll start to see some differences again.
Absolutely. If you haven't seen the Gen 3 car, check it out on the social media or the Formula E website or whatever. The technical specifications are really impressive. There's Jerome D'Ambrosio. His man Edoardo Mortara continuing his form from yesterday and topping the first free practice session of the second day of action here at the Shell Recharge Berlin E-Prix. And this is how the session finished. 1 minute 6.373 for Mortara. Half a tenth quicker than Andre Lotterer in the Porsche. Jake Dennis third for Andretti. Fourth Pascal Wehrlein in the other Porsche. Less than 4 tenths, covering the top 9 in the standings at the end there. Bird and Evans just outside the top 9 in 10th and 11th. Lucas de Grassi doing a good job up there in 8th position, because I think he set that lap time quite early on. Then you got Oliver Turvey in 12th place, just ahead of Oliver Rowland. Van Dorn down in 15th position for the Mercedes EQ squad. Askew, Cassidy, Bohemian, Giovinazzi, the bottom 4. Sergio Selicambra did a great job in qualifying yesterday, but it is Edoardo Mortara who is quickest in free practice 1. So another free practice session to come, meaning the teams have got still some opportunity to do some more work on the car, and they're getting a lot of data and information here, and that's what we had with the 6 days as well in the 6 races in 9 days in Berlin. And it's the problem for a lot of the teams though is they couldn't fix the problems yesterday. So for example, the massive understeer that people were having, you couldn't fix it yesterday. There's no kind of guarantee you can fix it today, no matter how much track time you get, I suppose. Yeah,
but there's no guarantees in anything in life, is there? You know, you still got to have a go. You can't just say, oh, well, we had these issues yesterday, so we're not going to bother fixing them today. I mean, that is the fundamental point of practice, is to try things and try and improve, surely.
Yeah. But I'm saying they, well...
we're just looking to see
but, what are you trying to say? I'm confused here.
Well, I guess I'm just saying that it's not like, okay, we've got another half-hour practice, so we'll be fine now.
Well, no.
No.
I mean, you can't assume anything.
No.
Can you? So, you know, it's you've got to constantly keep pushing and improving and learning, and that's what free practices are about. Because especially in a category like we have here at the moment, where it's super tight,
Yeah.
you just can't afford to relax.
Can't afford to. Don't forget, Yuka Nork and Stoffel Van Dorn. A bit late into the track today, maybe, as you can get involved as well, of course. Fan Boost is open. Vote online at fiaformulary.com/fanboost. 1 vote per day, or you can scan the QR code down at the bottom right. Cassidy's happy. Van Dorn leading the Fan Boost at the moment. Costa, Byrne, Sims, and Evans, the top 5. Let's say voting closes a little bit later on once the race has got underway, and they can use the extra power boost in the second half of the race. So first free practice ahead of the 8th round of the ABB FIA Formulary World Championship. Alexander Sims second on the grid yesterday, getting ready. And Picton about to head out in the Neo. Sebastian Buemi left the pit lane, but then on his very first lap on the rundown into turn 1, lost control of the car, hit the wall, and as a result had to come back into the pit lane for some damage repairs. There we go. There we see. We just saw him start to lose the rear as he came into turn 1, and then they fixed it, and he did manage to get back out. He lost about half the session, and then had a little spin at turn 2 as well in the Nissan Edams. You're on board with Robin Freitz as he got up to the wall on the exit of turn 2. Jean-Eric Verne in the DS Techeetah had a reasonable performance, ended the session 6th quickest. There was a lot of traffic for Jake Dennis, but he ended up 3rd fastest in the Avalanche Andretti. Andre Losserer, 2nd fastest for the Tag Heuer Porsche squad. But Eduardo Mortara won the race yesterday from pole position and continued where he left off by setting the fastest time in free practice 1. Well, another half hour coming up in an hour. The second free practice session will get underway. The drivers straight into the debrief. Nick de Vries there for Mercedes EQ, 7th fastest. Envision look like they still have quite a bit of work to do, with Robin Freitz 16th and Nick Cassidy 20th. Jean-Eric Verne ending the session 6th fastest. He is the man chasing down Stoffel Van Dorn at the lead of the championship. We're back in an hour.